was probably a typical American young middle-class citizen. With 2 years of college, I was at Birmingham Southern College. And the wheels were turning. I was about to get drafted. Everybody was getting drafted at that point in time. I was in my world of fraternities and school. As far as what was going on in the world, as far as history, I was pretty ignorant. I would say I was naive and ignorant of things going into this war. I was at Birmingham Southern College, and I had gone 2 summers in a row. I was in my second year, and I wanted to make a little money, and I needed a break. So I took a job at the Birmingham Post-Herald, and it was like 15 minutes after I didn't show up for class, I got a letter from the Selective Service ordering me to go to Montgomery for my physical. So the only thing I could get into at that point in time was the Navy, and it was a 3-month delayed program. So I didn't want to go into the Army as a draftee, so I joined the Navy. And this is how naive and stupid I was, I guess. I thought we had 4 branches of service, and there are actually 3, not counting the Coast Guard and National Guard. There's the Army and the Air Force, and there's the Navy. And they talked me into going into the Medical Corps, which, I soon found out the Marines are part of the Navy. So when our company, the whole unit, was assigned to jungle training school, we all knew what direction we were going. We applied for schools, but we all went to Camp Pendleton and went through another boot camp with the Marine Corps. So we knew what was going on. I went over there thinking, well, I'm probably going to die. I mean, that's what you have to think about. We did talk about going to Canada. We talked about that for about 15 minutes, me and another soldier, and that was all. And I felt like that wouldn't be a good reflection on my family, That's why I went. I said, well, okay, I'm going to die. I was assigned to a officer surgical ward unit, and the fellow I replaced, his name was Terry, like me. Nice looking kid. He looked like a blonde surfer boy from California. Very nice. He trained me because I was going to be the head corpsman. Showed me all the duties I had to do. So he goes off, and he's going to Vietnam. And one day I showed up for work, and all the corpsmen were gathered around the nurse's station. But in the middle of the corpsmen surrounding there was the nurse, and she was crying. She was reading a letter. Terry was dead. He lasted 1 week in Vietnam. So I went to Vietnam with all of that in my head. When I first got there, within my first week, there was a corpsman that worked for us. He had been with the Grunts 6 months, and he was back. He was about to go home. One time he sat down next to me, and he looked at me and he said, why are you here in Vietnam? And I remember this distinctly. I said, I guess my country needed me. We didn't, we were caught up in that Kennedy, no, ask not what you da-da-da, what can you do for your country? We weren't. That's the kind of atmosphere. Our parents were World War II, and he just looked at me, and then he got up and walked away. He could have said a lot to me. It wasn't very long till I was thinking the same thing that I know was in his head. You don't have to be there very long before you realize this is messed up. This is a messed up situation. And it became what it became for most soldiers was, I'm getting my year over with, and I'm getting the hell out of here and getting home. That was our only cause. Survive 1 year, get home. That's the only cause we had. I'll never forget when the plane took off from Vietnam. We're rolling down there, and when the wheels lifted off, I didn't expect this. There was the loudest cheer. You can't imagine how loud everybody was screaming, including me. It's just a reaction. You've left this godforsaken country. and you're actually going home, which was a dream for a year, and in one piece. My last assignment was in Portsmouth Naval Hospital, a major naval hospital, and it was filled with Marines coming back very wounded, and some of my memories are of that some I haven't been able to ever get out of my mind. For instance, a young Marine, he was a quadriplegic. He had a tracheotomy, he couldn't move, didn't open his eyes. His mother was there every day that I came to that unit, and she would lift up his hand and she would rub his hand. So she would talk to him for hours, and then she would put his hand down and leave. That's a memory I can't forget. I had things inside. I knew they were there, and they were suppressed. And I didn't talk about it. I never talked to my wife or anybody about Vietnam. But then came Iraq, and that upset me. I was asking questions. I said, what is this about? And the thing that bothered me was my generation, we and all the students, all the protesting in the 60s, the students, we weren't supposed to ever let another Vietnam happen. It wasn't supposed to happen. And so that is really bothering me, that I see it's happening. I knew what was going to happen. I knew you can't win. I knew, they'll talk about success, but it's almost a parallel situation. I've studied it with Vietnam, but I saw it all unraveling. Then I visited for the first time, this was about 4 years into the Iraq War, the Vietnam War Memorial. I've been to D.C. a lot, but I had not gone to the memorial. And I just looked at it, and as I looked at it, and Iraq is occurring, and I was saying, why didn't we learn from history? Why? They kept asking me. And did they all die in vain? What was it about? What was Vietnam about? Was it all just in vain? And I swear, this thought came to me, it's weird, just out of the blue. It was like some of these soldiers whose names are on the wall just slapped my face, just reached out from their grave and slapped my face and said, no, we didn't die in vain. If you learn from us, don't let it happen again. Learn from us and don't let it happen again. That's the message I got. They don't talk about the homelessness of Vietnam veterans and the drunkenness and the drug problems they have. And I understand the suicide rate because it's affected me. This war has affected me in a later point in life. And I think that may not be unusual because you have time to think about things and you realize you were part of a history that wasn't so good, a history that you might not feel anything but shame and guilt and anger about, and you were part of it. You were part of this machine that exterminated people who you realize, like me, they weren't an enemy. I mean, what the hell? How do I deal with that? So I call it a latent PTSD. Some people may find it to be a patriotic thing, but I don't. And I'm not proud of what I did or that I was a part of this. I think it was wrong, immoral, and it was a mistake. An odd thing is when people come and say, thank you for your service. It just never fit right. I couldn't explain it. It just didn't fit right. I didn't know how to reply. I wanted somebody to come up and say, man, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you got pulled into that thing. That was awful. I hope you're okay. No, it's thank you for your service. And I want to say, what are you thanking me for? For shooting at people that for I didn't drop bombs, but I was part of that machine that did. It's like I'm part of a crime. Don't thank me for doing that. It's something we have to live with.